First of all, welcome to the first episode of the 2024 Growth Hacking Workshops from Hill Management Group and our Works brands, StrategyWeRX, Works Marketing, MentorWorks, and ProsperWorks. 2024 promises to be an interesting year. We have ongoing financial anxiety, even though the economy looks good. We have geopolitical instability affecting both mental health and global logistics, and an election year in the US that promises to be incredibly disruptive. What that means for your business is that you need to be very intentional and very proactive about growth. Waiting for the phone to ring is not going to cut it in 2024. We created this series of workshops to provide meaningful, actionable assistance for our clients and our industries to help you navigate the growth challenges ahead. And today we're starting where all good growth discussions start, which is in preparing a plan. So what I'm going to show you today is not just for business owners or CEOs. The methods I will teach you can be used in any department or division of any company. If you're not responsible for the overall strategic focus of your company, that's okay. You can take the methods that I'm teaching you and connect your area of responsibility to the overall strategies of the company and use the knowledge and tools within your own functional area. Oh, and speaking of tools, you will have the templates and downloads that I promised you in this webinar by this afternoon. I was supposed to get them into the download area this morning and I forgot to do it. So that will be happening this afternoon. So I'm going to start today's webinar with a story about how I learned to love planning because I'm not a planner by nature. In January of '98, I was at a trade fair in Italy, and I met a watch manufacturer who invited me to visit his plant near Lausanne, Switzerland. The only day we could coordinate was 2 days hence. There were no affordable flights on such short notice, but Lausanne's only about 500 kilometers from Vicenza, which would be like a 5-hour drive in the States. So I decided to drive it. At the auto rental place, they didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Italian then, but I managed to convey that I was going to Switzerland and I needed a car for 3 days. The clerk said he had a 6-speed Fiat Punto. Okay, it had been a while since I'd driven a stick shift, but I figured it would come back to me quickly. I also asked for maps, and he handed me a map of Italy in Italian, but they didn't have a map of Switzerland. Now, there's this look Italians give you when you're doing something inadvisable. It's similar to that look your parents gave you when you were lying to them and they knew you were lying to them and you knew they knew you were lying to them. The rental guy was giving me that look. But hey, I had a car and I was on my way. Getting out of Vicenza was kind of stressful because the transmission was super sticky in the lower gears, or maybe it was me. But other than stalling out at a few lights, I was on my way. In northern Italy, the scenery was just breathtaking. I hadn't been there before, but the main roads were getting smaller and smaller and the road signs were non-existent. I was having a hard time juggling my map and the stick shift. I stopped to ask for directions a few times, but all I got was the look. Once I crossed over into Switzerland, then that brought the added wonder of these massive tunnels that I would drive through that were cutting underneath the mountains. I had never seen anything like it. So I'm driving along, dancing in my seat to my driving playlist, which I always have on my, I had a little MP3 device at the time, and anticipating the next tunnel in the mountain ahead. When I realized I was going up and up, and it was starting to snow. Now, the thing is, I hate mountain driving. Anytime I have to drive up or down a mountain, my stomach bottoms out like I'm on a roller coaster. So I'm going up and it's getting snowier, and I realize I can't go back down because there is no place where I can make a 3-point turn. The road's too narrow. So the only direction I can go in is forward. And I noticed 2 things at this point. First, that my sticky transmission has gone from a mere embarrassment to existential fear of rolling backwards down this slippery mountain. Second, I noticed that nobody else is or has been driving that road in either direction. Nobody. They all know what I was supposed to know, which is that you should not drive up that mountain in January. So I focused. I tried not to think about going over the side. White knuckling my steering wheel, I rolled up that mountain and sometimes down it a few feet at a time. Perhaps an hour later, I'm not really sure, I was at the peak. There were barely 2 car lengths of flat space to put my car in park and just breathe for a moment. But I couldn't breathe because looking ahead, all I saw was a roller coaster, a downhill roller coaster covered with snow. I sat in that short, flat space for a good 30 minutes, pondering my options, my non-existent options, because I had to go down that road either way. I don't know if it took me 20 minutes or 3 hours to drive down that mountain. At some point, I just realized I was on flat ground and I could pull over and park. I wobbled out of my car, pulled back my hair, and threw up until there was nothing left inside me. The rest of the trip was uneventful, but I couldn't even enjoy it. I rolled into my hotel at 3 a.m., 17 hours after I'd begun. Since that day, I've taken many road trips on 4 continents, but I have never again embarked without making a plan. I always know which roads I'm going to take, the terrain, my anticipatable risks, my alternatives. Before my Swiss mountain adventure, I thought too much planning diminished the fun. Now I know that a good plan can literally be life-saving. So I am now a planner, and I'm going to share with you some methodologies that we have developed to help you be good planners too. And here we go. One of the first questions I ask prospective clients in discovery meetings is, what are your specific goals? And then I follow it quickly by a second question. What are you doing to achieve them? The goals themselves, they're often fuzzy. They want to grow or they want to have better cash flow. But when pressed for specifics, like how much growth, by when, what are the numbers, they tend to answer with narrative rather than specifics. So let's be very clear. Fuzzy goals lead to fuzzy plans, and fuzzy plans lead to fuzzy results. The only answers to what are your business goals should be statements like, we want to hit 20 million in sales by this time, or we want to grow 14% by that time. And we don't want to just want them, we want to plan them. So what we're going to discuss today is how to turn those we want tos into we plan tos, and how to set up the structure and organization you need to ensure those plans get done. In the next 45 minutes, we will cover an overview of what strategy is, a method for determining the most meaningful strategy for your business, how to set goals to achieve that strategy, how to align your organization with those goals, how to identify the internal and external factors that are affecting your growth potential, and then a way to attach your resources and actions to each goal, a way that's efficient and actionable and can be done by any size company or any size department. Strategy is the most written about business topic, and it's also probably the least understood. It is often made much more complicated than it needs to be. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have the team, the time, and the budget to engage in deep strategic analysis and planning, a well-designed strategy can transform a company from ho-hum to hold on. But even a small company with limited resources to devote to strategy can do a solid job of strategic planning and execution. You may not have the resources of Amazon or Google, but a lean and practical strategic practice is far better than no strategic practice. These are the 3 questions that, when you answer them, tell the story of your strategy. Who are we? What do we do that makes us different? And why do we matter? You see, at its core, strategy combines differentiation and competitive advantage to present your products and services in a unique way, capturing the attention of a very specific customer base. So let's review what these things mean. Differentiation is the thing you do that makes you stand out to your competitors. Competitive advantage is something you do better than any of your competitors. And the specific customer base is critical. This is a customer that cares not only about what you have to sell, but the way you sell and support it. But you have to have all three. If you have differentiation, but no competitive advantage, then your competitors are just going to knock you off. If you have competitive advantage, but no differentiation, nobody cares. You can't appeal to all the customers without making your offering completely generic. So you need to design your differentiation and competitive advantage to serve a specific group of customers. And this is how you become strategic. Now, it's tempting to think about your products or your services, the thing you sell, as your strategy, but it's extremely difficult to craft a strategy around just a product or service selection. Product and service development should only be one element of your strategy. You need more elements than just product or service. Now, for those of you that are coming to this webinar from the jewelry industry, you know that periodic table on the lower left. Probably everybody does, but just a reminder from your high school chemistry, that's the periodic table. And just as the periodic table is a map of the building blocks of everything around you, revealing all the patterns and connections between the materials that make up your world, so are the strategic elements a map of the building blocks of business strategy and success. These are the key to creating the patterns and connections that will set your company apart from your competition and make your business meaningful to a select group of customers. Now, there are a lot of arguments from a lot of theorists about how to rank these in order of importance from least to most. And over time, their relative important changes as well because of changing technologies and ways of working. But I think all of that is like an argument over whether water or oxygen is more important. I mean, the answer to, is water or oxygen more important is entirely dependent on context in the short term. Like, are you a fish or are you a person? And the answer in the long term is that they're equally important. And this is true for business elements as well. The most important thing you can do for your strategy is to pick 3 or 4 of these elements and construct your strategy around them. So that's the first piece of the method. Know the elements, pick 3 or 4, and I'll show you how now. But just to clarify, no matter what strategy you pursue, you must do these 4 things at the minimum standard necessary to compete. That's just to run your business, minimum standard necessary to compete. Numbers 5 and 6 are not essential for running your business, but they are options for a strategy. But when I talk about choosing them as strategic elements, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to elevate some of these elements into what I call your secret sauce. Also, if you have questions as we're going, pop them in the chat. There will be time at the end of this to answer questions. Okay, so let's talk about the 6 elements. Operational excellence forms the foundation for all business growth. But when you choose it as a strategy, this is about streamlining processes and reducing costs and improving overall efficiency, all with the intention of achieving a clear, unequivocal advantage over your competitors. So you'll be able to charge lower prices or do faster turnaround times or deliver things faster. And on your screen, you have some examples of companies that have used operational excellence as a strategy. The second strategic element is superior talent and culture. Again, a skilled and motivated workforce is essential for any business, but when you choose it as a strategy, this involves talent acquisition, like investing in your talent acquisition, investing in people development and retention, and building a culture that can support high performance, autonomy, and innovation as a way to outperform your competitors. Now we get to product and service development. So again, you need to do product and service development just to run your business. But when you elevate it to a strategy, then you have to perform well above the minimum standard necessary to compete in your product or service space. Success with this strategic element is closely tied to your ability to understand what customers need and adapt to changing market demands. The fourth strategic element is marketing and selling. And again, necessary for all companies at whether it's a strategy or not. But when you choose selling and marketing as a strategy, then you're choosing to innovate in the way you develop and nurture your leads and cultivate and close sales. I've listed the most common approaches here, companies that have used strategic marketing and selling as a way of setting themselves apart, but there are many, many more than this. I see that somebody's having a hard time seeing the slides. Is anyone else having a hard time seeing slides? Or are those showing for you? Hey, Dharmesh. Okay, so Ellie, if you're having a hard time seeing the screens, you might want to come in on a Chrome or Firefox browser if you're not using that already. Otherwise, the replay will be out and we'll make sure everything is fully visible. Dharmesh, I'm wearing my Sina candy earrings today, so seeing your name is fun. Okay. So unlike the first four elements, business model innovation is not required to grow a business. So you can run your business without business model innovation. But if you choose it as a strategic element, then adapting or innovating your business model can provide you with a significant competitive advantage. So examples of companies that have done this well are right there on the slide. So networks transformed the entertainment industry from brick and mortar video rental to a mail order and then finally a streaming option. And Uber and Lyft revolutionized the way the taxi industry worked. Airbnb turned homeowners into hoteliers. Amazon started as a bookstore, online bookstore, then diversified. And now, and we'll look at Amazon again in a few minutes, they're not only transforming the retail landscape, they're also transforming the cloud landscape. Lego's a fun one. They revitalized their just basic toy store, department store distribution model by collaborating with franchises like Star Wars and Harry Potter. And now adults everywhere are building Legos like they did when they were kids. And Apple introduced this really closed ecosystem of hardware and software to create something that we call a product or a system lock-in. So these last two, Apple and enterprise software, they illustrate another business model innovation called system lock-in. System lock-in draws customers into this web of interconnected products and services, and it makes it hard to switch to competitors. Inconvenient, costly, even undesirable. So that's what a system lock-in is. So business model innovation is something that even small companies can consider if you can come up with a cool idea to pull it off. And finally, the sixth strategic element is market expansion and diversification. Now, this can be a powerful strategy, but it's also the most expensive, and it carries a lot of risk and resource requirements. There are a lot more failures in the acquiring companies to grow strategy than there are successes. So, and I think when it comes to market diversification and expansion, people tend to think about companies like GE and General Dynamics. But as you can see, this strategy works for lots of different kinds of companies. Your strategy is going to be far more powerful if you tap into 3 or 4 of these strategic elements and combine them in a way that's different than anything else your competitors are doing. And this will become what I call your secret sauce. But you have to remember, there is no such thing as unlimited capacity. This is important. Keep this in mind as we go through these next few slides. And if you're only a little bit better than your competitors, then your customers won't even notice. So if you try to be better than everyone else in 3 or 4 strategies, you'll end up spending everything you've got, money, time, talent, on differences that will be too minor to be noticed by your customers. So how do you prevent this from happening? How do you pick 3 or 4 strategic elements and then not try to be more strategic in all 3 or 4 of them? Well, the solution is that you pick one primary competitive strategy, and then you add 2 or 3 more supporting strategies to it. So in this example, you might choose operational excellence as your primary strategy, and then focus on creating, let's say, like personalized or customized products. So that's your primary strategy. Then you support that, let's say, with products that are made of the highest quality materials or designed specifically for each buyer. And then for your marketing and selling strategy, you say, well, this kind of customer is going to benefit most from a concierge selling strategy. So you attach a concierge selling strategy to all of this. But to pull this off, you have to prioritize operational improvements and investments. Because if your operations can't deliver the personalization and customization that your targeted customers want, then all your concierge selling and quality materials won't even matter. So you pick one strategy and you support it with your other strategies. Let's do another example. You could choose superior talent and culture as your primary strategy. And then you focus on hiring the most, let's say, well-rounded software implementers available. Then you support that with a product and service development offering. Let's say you're offering software that can be configured in many different ways to achieve the unique requirements of your clients. And then you use content marketing to educate and inform your potential clients, and consultative selling to understand and address their unique business needs. So we have a primary strategy of superior talent and culture supported by your product and your selling strategy. But to pull this off, you have to prioritize the talent acquisition, because if your employees can't deliver the highly personalized technology services that you've promised your targeted customers, then your configurable product and your consultative selling approach won't even matter. Let's do one more, and then we'll break this down and show you how you turn it into a plan. So this time, let's make your primary strategy product and service development. Let's imagine that you have come up with a cutting-edge pillow. We'll call it the Sleep Genie. And it is equipped with biosensors and a smart speaker. So it analyzes your brain waves and your sleep patterns all night long, and it automatically adjusts the pillow temperature and firmness while playing a very calming audio background. You support this product strategy with operational excellence. You implement lean manufacturing so you can keep your product affordable. And then your marketing and sales strategy is to collaborate with sleep clinics and wellness brands. And now we're going to create a system lock-in by introducing a subscription service for your premium audio content and sleep coaching programs. And then you're going to integrate further with smart home devices so you can make lighting and temperature adjustments in your room. But all of this comes down to producing a pillow that can deliver on its promise of better sleep, because that's the thing your customers care about. If the pillow isn't fantastic, none of these other strategies matter. Now let's dissect this a bit. So imagine a competitor comes out with a very similar pillow to yours. They've copied your idea. There is nothing you can do about it. Are you out of business? Have you just been scooped and it's all over? Not necessarily. Let's imagine that the competitor is even going after your type of customer. Well, if they don't support their product strategy with operational excellence, then their pillow and accessories will be more expensive or lower quality or both than yours. And if they don't use this collaborative marketing approach, they'll have to spend a lot more money going after customers than you do, which will cut into their reinvestment capabilities. And if they don't create this ecosystem of products, their customers can easily abandon their pillow and come over to your pillow. Take a hard look at the slide in front of you right now. That is where most businesses focus. This is what most business strategies look like. They focus on one strategy and they don't support it with other strategies to create this package of differentiation and competitive advantage. So one of your competitive advantages will be knowing how to construct a strategy that is hard to compete with, no matter what size your business is. Your 3 or 4 strategic elements with one lead element and 2 or 3 more supporting elements are your secret sauce. People can see it, they can taste it, they can smell it, but they don't know what goes into it. And that's how you get differentiation and competitive advantage, even on a small business budget. Now, one of the templates you'll receive as part of this workshop is a strategy secret sauce planner. It'll walk you through the steps I just showed you so that you can start brainstorming and implementing the elements of your own strategy. If you're worried that you can't come up with something amazing, stop sweating it. Don't assume that because you sell a fairly basic product or service, or maybe because your business is small, that developing a strategy like this is not for you. Post-it notes, I mean, they came from a big company. They came from 3M, but they were a very simple idea. People already had note paper and tape. So it was an improvement, but it wasn't something people couldn't live without. But by combining a product that made people's lives a little bit easier, and then promoting it with 3M's strategic marketing and distribution capabilities, and leveraging their efficient manufacturing operations to keep the costs low, they held on to strategic advantage in this very basic product for many, many years. Once you know what your secret sauce is, it's time to write it down. You're going to get a table that looks like this, and you're going to write it down in this grid. Your primary strategy, the one that you will prioritize for resources and protect at all costs. If you have to choose between an expenditure on your primary strategy or an expenditure for something else, you're going to choose the primary strategy unless the something else will stop you from doing business. That's how important your primary strategy is. That's in the first position in red. This is the strategy that has to be head and shoulders above your competitors, whichever one you choose. Because if you're only a little bit better than your competitors in this area, nobody will notice and nobody will care. And once you've laid it out like this, now you're ready to start setting goals. To set goals, I'm going to teach you a simplified version of a method called the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard is a strategy method that was developed by Robert Kaplan and David Norton, and it provides a very simple, powerful framework for setting goals for your secret sauce elements. We start by adding another column at the front. It's called perspective. And as you can see, we have 4 more rows below your strategic elements. The first row we're going to call financial perspective. And there's a question that goes with each perspective. The question of the financial perspective is, what must we accomplish to satisfy our stakeholders? Who are our stakeholders? Well, there are co-owners, they're our employees, our customers, our suppliers, investors when you have them. Those are our stakeholders. What do we have to do financially to satisfy them? In the financial perspective, we're going to set goals around things like sales growth, profitability, ROI, cash flow, market share, dividends, share prices, all financial metrics. In the second row, we have the customer perspective. And the question of the customer perspective is, what must we do for our customers to achieve those financial goals? In the customer perspective, we set goals around customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, customer lifetime value, brand awareness, customer experience, customer effort, like reducing friction from the customer experience. So that's all the customer perspective. In the third row, we have the internal perspective. And the question of the internal perspective is, what must we excel at? Not just do, but excel at internally to meet the customer goals. So in the internal perspective, we set goals around efficiency, productivity, quality, capacity, processing times, cost reductions. And then in the fourth row, we have development perspective. And the question of the development perspective is, what must we learn, develop, and invest in to achieve our internal performance goals? So in the development perspective, we set goals around training, skills, competencies, initiatives, investments in technology or capabilities, outsourcing for talent, anything we need to do to equip ourselves to achieve the goals of the internal perspective. Now, if you only have 3 strategic elements, you will have 12 goals on your scorecard. If you have 4 strategic elements, like we have here, you will have 16 goals on your scorecard. But these are not 16 individual goals. That's actually too, it gets fuzzy if you have 16 unrelated goals. So instead, what we're going to create is 3 or 4 financial goals, and then support each financial goal with the customer, internal, and development goal. See, one of the biggest mistakes companies make is to set goals with no support or no plan to achieve them. By using this approach, you build in the support to achieve each financial goal. So what would that look like? Well, let's do an example. Let's start with a financial goal. We're going to make financial goals across the top, and then I'll show you how we support a financial goal. So the financial goal is, what must we achieve to satisfy our stakeholders? Well, we need sales. We're introducing a new product and we need sales. So for the main strategic thread, we'll set a goal of 2 million revenue on this new pillow. And then moving across, we need profits. And lean manufacturing is a great way to reduce errors and waste, which improves your profits. So let's set a goal there of 11% net profit. Now, moving over to marketing and selling, we don't just sell the Sleep Genie. We have other products. And we want the Sleep Genie to actually help us lift our overall sales by giving us opportunities to sell our products to all of our new customers that we're bringing in for this pillow. So we want to go for 12% sales growth, not just sales growth from the Sales Genie, but sales growth beyond the sales of the new product. And then finally, we want to make sure that we not only sell to new customers, but that we increase our sales to every customer we acquire. And that system lock-in strategy is good for that. So we're going to use a customer lifetime value metric and try to raise the overall value of every customer. Those are 4 totally solid financial goals. And each goal relates very well to its strategic element. So now let's look at how we support one of those goals. So what do we have to do? And by the way, you'll get a template. It's going to talk to you about how to do this kind of balanced scorecard setup. There's a fantastic book called The Balanced Scorecard. It's a bit of a snooze fest because it's written by an accountant, but it just lays out the theory for you. But if you just use this simplified version, you can actually go a long way with it. Okay, so now we're going to move down the product and service column. So what do we have to do for our customer to achieve those 2 million in sales on the new pillow? Well, we need raving fans. So let's set an 86% customer satisfaction rating on the new pillow. That would be, I don't know, like 4.2 stars or something, which is a pretty ambitious customer sat rating. And then what must we excel at internally to achieve that 86% customer satisfaction rating? Well, let's say we want 99% quality, or no more than 1 person per 100 to return the pillow due to concern about quality. And now for the tough part. What do we need to learn, develop, or invest in to achieve that quality metric? Well, one of the most important ways we can improve manufacturing quality and reduce errors is to standardize operations and training. So for this goal, let's set a 100% standardized work instructions documented and trained before our first manufacturing run. So now we have a financial goal that's supported by 3 reinforcing goals. That is more than a strategy. That is a plan. And like I said, you'll receive a planning template to help you do this kind of work. The other thing I want you to notice is that these are SMART goals, which means that each goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Using this approach helps you set realistic, measurable goals and objectives and ensures that your goals and metrics are aligned with the strategy. Also, it's providing you with the first big milestones for your plan. Now, one of the things that really trips people up when they start this process is thinking, I don't know how to do that. We've never been able to do that. I don't have any employees that can do that. I wouldn't even know how to get started. So they don't set goals for things they don't know how to do. And that is the wrong approach. What you need to do is set the goals, then figure out how to achieve them. If it's good enough to be on your strategy, it's good enough to invest in. And it does take a leap of faith to invest in the things that are strategic to you. But that's the way it works. And when you do that, that's how you grow. Set goals for things you don't know how to do, or don't have the expertise to do, or don't have the in-house talent to do, and then figure out a way to achieve it. To achieve your internal, customer, and financial goals, you have to complete this development perspective. So the things that you don't know how to do or don't currently have the capacity to do, these become plans. Plans that will need checklists and project plans and management and follow through. And this is how companies add new capabilities and capacities in a very intentional way. So that development row, that becomes part of your plan. We'll come back to that in a minute. Again, if you have questions, pop them in the chat. Okay. Oh, look, we got our little Post-it notes back. Okay. So now I'm going to show you the last part of creating the elements of your plan. And it's called a SWOT analysis, which I'm sure all of you know about, but everybody's doing it wrong, at least in my opinion. So SWOT analysis is a way to assess your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's intended as a guide to strategic planning and decisions. And we're going to use it that way, but we're going to do it a little differently because the typical SWOT analysis is one SWOT analysis for your whole company. And that can really take you off track because it can cause you to focus on things that don't matter. Remember, there's no such thing as unlimited capacity. So you have to give your attention to the strategic things and deprioritize the other things. Like if you've always been irritated about that ugly dock door at the back of your building, but it has no bearing on your strategic performance, that ugly dock door isn't a weakness, it's just an irritant. So I want you to focus on the things that are strategic, and changing the way you do the SWOT analysis will do that. Instead of doing the SWOT analysis once, you are going to do it 3 or 4 times, depending on how many strategic elements you've chosen. You're going to do it once for each strategic element. And by doing it this way, you are going to analyze the most important things and keep your plan focused and manageable. I am not going to teach you how to do a SWOT in this session. There's a guide to doing the SWOT in your supplemental materials, and there is a wealth of information on how to do a SWOT on the internet. So just do the SWOT using the same process that any SWOT instruction will teach you, but do one time for each strategic element rather than a blanket, unfocused SWOT on your whole company. So the way it looks is you're going to say, what are our strengths when it comes to producing and manufacturing a Sleep Genie pillow? Now, what are our weaknesses when it comes to producing this Sleep Genie pillow? What opportunities can we take advantage of in launching this Sleep Genie pillow? What are the threats that could undermine our ability to sell the Sleep Genie pillow? And once you've brainstormed your whole SWOT on your first strategic element, you're going to do it to the second. And the results will be very focused on those strategic elements. And now you're ready to document your plan. You can mine the work that you've done to create your plan. You will want to include all the goals that showed up in the development perspective of your scorecard. And then you will create a plan to address each weakness that you identify in your SWOT analyses, and you'll create plans to address each of the threats that you identified in your SWOT analyses. You will also create plans to do things like make sure your strengths remain strengths, that you don't take your eye off the ball on your strengths that you determined in your SWOT analyses. And you can put all those things together as a checklist or in a project plan software or a task software. Just choose a tool that you're comfortable with and you know you will use. That is a solid way to create a strategic plan. From here on out, what you need is discipline. Discipline is what gets you through from here. The good news is discipline's actually not a skill. It's a choice. So if you need more discipline, simply choose it. It's there for the taking, but you're going to follow this plan. Sometimes people say, oh, but what if our goals aren't good? What if we didn't set the right metric? What if I'm off base? Trust me, just making a plan like this is going to get you so much further than not making a plan like this. You'll find yourself at the end of the plan, having done some different things than you anticipated at the beginning, but getting way closer to your destination than you would have gotten without it. So do not fixate on getting it perfect. Fixate on thinking and putting this plan together in this very simple way, and you will make huge progress. Okay. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you about our next 2024 Growth Hacking Workshop. The session is on sales enablement strategies for explosive growth, and we'll be offering it at noon Central Time on Wednesday, January the 31st. So make sure you've registered for it so you get your reminder emails. And now I want to go back to the story, the one I started with, my Swiss mountain adventure. The thing I didn't tell you when I told you the story of my Swiss mountain adventure is that I had a passenger in the car with me, an employee. And she kept a really cool head throughout the experience. In fact, most of that drive up and down the mountain, I don't think either one of us said a word. But the thing I could not get out of my head, from even now, it still bothers me, I can flush thinking about it, is how much I endangered another person by not planning. Now, unless you're a neurosurgeon or cardiothoracic surgeon, the stakes aren't life or death in your business. But there are a lot of people depending on all of us to do a good job in our businesses. Our employees depend on us. Our customers depend on us. Our suppliers depend on us. Our families, other shareholders. The stakes are high for doing a good plan and creating a business that can support all the people that are depending on it. So planning isn't just a nice to have thing. Planning is a need to have thing in your business. And I hope that by following this method, you will discover that it's much easier to create a plan than you ever thought possible. And that by just thinking more strategically and keeping that plan in front of you, because those templates you're going to get will allow you to just keep them on your desk, pin them on the wall, stay focused on that checklist that you create, and you will have a better business just by having done the planning. So that's what I wanted to share with you today about how to create a growth plan for your business. And now, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. We have time. Thanks, Helena. Thank you, Dharmesh. Also, you can get a hold of us when you get these templates. I'm just waiting to see if there are questions to answer. When you get the templates, if you have questions about them, or you can just send a communication through the communication link in the event system, and we'll be glad to answer questions or provide support. Can I relate it with a short example in the fine jewelry business? Okay, let's see. In the fine jewelry business, it's tough because fine jewelry is fine jewelry, right? And a lot of it comes down to taste. And yet many people in the fine jewelry business just lean on making a product. We make a more beautiful product. Okay, now I make a more beautiful product. Well, I make an even more beautiful product. And you don't want to compete on price. So that operational excellence piece If you're using it just to reduce your prices, that's a zero-sum game. So in the fine jewelry business, having your product is an important part of it. You have to have a product and you have to know who that product appeals to. But then attaching it to marketing and selling strategies that, for instance, there are fine jewelry businesses that say, okay, but we're doing fine jewelry, but the operational excellence part of our strategy is being able to do bespoke jewelry. Now, you can go to a lot of jewelers and get bespoke jewelry. And in most cases, you're going to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get that back. So innovating ways to turn bespoke jewelry around very quickly would be a good way to use that operational excellence strategic element. And then for marketing and selling, everybody's out blasting everybody on social media, but you'd be well served to think of a different way to reach your clients. So maybe it's a concierge selling approach, or maybe it's, I'm going to run out of ideas here, something that's not just putting stuff on social media and hoping people will respond to your social media. It's almost impossible to even get seen on social media these days. So contacting customers directly, being very proactive in your outreach, knowing when's the last time that a customer even looked at your website. You can use your CRM tools for that. So being very timely and responsive on a one-to-one basis. In fine jewelry, you can afford to do that because you charge enough for each individual piece that you can spend some more energy on a per customer basis than you could spend, if you were selling fashion jewelry at $25 a piece. So attaching marketing and selling strategies that look a little different than what's out there, than what's all the noise. So let's see, I covered product, service, operational excellence, marketing, and selling. The other thing that you could do is pull one of those elements out and put a talent piece in there. So maybe you've got top designers that are talking to your customers. Again, a lot of people are making bespoke jewelry, but there's a lot of ugly bespoke jewelry out there. So, really bringing in the talent that can design beautifully, that can counter sketch, that can make that experience. So that would be some ways to think about it in fine jewelry. Remember, it's the secret sauce that you're trying to put together. So somebody might have a strategy that looks similar to yours, but if their secret sauce has just one different element than yours, and you're targeting different customers or in different markets, that can be sufficiently differentiating. So did that answer the question? Well, I have a question for you while I'm waiting to see if there are more questions coming through. Do you guys feel like this was clear enough that you, with the help of some templates, could start tackling this yourself? Was it nice and logical? Does it seem achievable? Okay, good. So I know that these presentations are sort of slide intensive and talking headish, but we really wanted them to be workshops that would give you tools, not just ideas, but tools to grow your business. So that's what you can expect in the rest of the series. And we will be here every other week throughout 2024, presenting a new methodology that you can use to support the growth of your business. All right. So with that, I'm going to let you get back to your everyday business life, and we'll get those tools and templates out to you later. If you haven't registered for the other sessions, please go to events.strategyworks.com and register for the other sessions so you get the reminders, and we'll be seeing you. Thanks so much for attending. I really appreciate your time.